Okay, so I've got some exciting news. As you know, we've been looking for properties for a while. We talked about that we like this property over here. We also wanted to kind of research the market, and we've spent a few weeks looking at properties, within about 20 miles of here that would still keep us pretty close to where I work and where the industry is. We have reached out to the property owner as well as one of the neighbors, just to kind of see what that was going to be like, see if they were interested in selling their properties. We looked at it earlier this year or maybe last year, and we actually really liked it, but we weren't in a place where we could buy it, and since it's been pulled off the market. We reached out to the owner, and after talking to him for a bit, it sounds like he's willing to sell to us for the price it was listed for, which is great. So it was listed for $250,000. I think that's probably going to be a fair offer. There's some details here. I want to be completely transparent with everybody. So I'll get into that once we get further down the line. Once we get it tied up in escrow, I'll release all the details of that for you guys. The next thing is we have noticed that one of the neighbors has encroached on the property a bit. They have decided that they can just go ahead and build and do whatever they want on it. And so that's the only thing that's making me a little weary right now. We need to figure out how we can, safely resolve that without putting it into years of legal, and that can just be a disaster. So hopefully we can resolve that peacefully here soon, and we should know very shortly, hopefully, going back and forth. One thing that we have done that's been really great is we reached out to the sister property. There's 2 5-acre parcels here, and they almost looked identical to each other, kind of split right down the middle, and there's kind of this weird triangle shape, which you'll probably see in some later videos. And him and his wife sound absolutely awesome, sound like they're kind of trying to do what we're doing. In fact, he also works at the same company I work at, so which is great. We haven't met them in person yet. I've had several long talks on the phone with him. Hopefully, because it's the holidays, we've been so busy, hopefully we can meet them before we actually leave town and they leave town. They sound like a really awesome couple. Really want to promote the equestrian part of Shadow Hills, which is we love too. We want to promote. Okay, so the neighborhood has a lot of equestrian trails, and that's something that we're really excited to preserve. There's a trail that runs right through kind of the center of our property. Options would be to close that up, but we don't want to. We really want to promote an equestrian lifestyle. As I may have mentioned before, we're really excited to have, someday horses, ponies, donkeys, goats, chickens, kind of do the whole real farm living. So talking to our neighbors, we've learned a lot about the property. They are getting ready to build, and they've spent the last 1.5 years, 2 years down with the county and working with everything that they have to do as far as getting ready to build, water, utilities, everything like that. So they're a wealth of information, and they sound really nice, and they're willing to share that with us, which is going to be just really golden for us. It will help really speed things along. The only thing we really need to worry about right away is water and power and septic. I think water, I've already talked to the county. It looks like they can put a meter right up to into the public road, and then we can take it the rest of the way to our property. When we do that, I think I'm going to do a partnership with our neighbor and dig one trench, put both of our pipes in there. Makes a lot more sense than going back. We might also run some conduit to the front gate, because it's about 1,000 feet from our properties, where we can put a video camera or some sort of security tie-in, so if somebody comes to the gate then wants to come in, we can see and let them in, etc. Really smart to do that all at once, really save a lot of money. I want to buy a Bobcat almost immediately with a trencher and probably an auger, and that'll really help things. I'll be able to do all the trenching myself, and the only thing we really need to do is get it plumbed in, which shouldn't take very long. The next thing is power. There looks like there's 2 power poles that are close to us. There's one at the top of our property. It looks like it's only about 1 pole away. We'll request temporary power. They'll probably bring in a new pole and set, 100 amp or 200 amp service temporary. There's also an option to do 100% solar, but if it's easy to just drop, utility power there, we can figure out all the solar stuff later, which would help take a little burden off of us. There's a lot of stuff that's going to have to happen really quickly, because we are in a house right now, and I'm not sure when we're going to get kicked out or when he's going to ask us to leave, because he wants to put it on the market desperately, which actually started this whole process, which you may have heard in one of the previous videos. But when we started looking at our other options, kind of building this dream home and getting our shop and having some property really just sounded so much better, and it sounds like we'll be able to do it for about the same price. It's just going to require a lot more headaches, which is something that a lot of people don't really want to take on, because it is a lot of unknowns as far as building a new house and building a new location. There's a lot of unique things we want to do as far as building a barn dominium. That's not really something that a lot of people know the term or what it is or what it means. A lot of people don't like steel buildings, but as I look over at the properties, you can probably still see one behind me. There's a massive steel building about the size that we want to build on our property, which is sitting just above our property. So with that being said, kind of the neighborhood sets a precedence, and that's been built in the last year or two. So it's pretty new. So it's not like it's something that's been grandfathered in. So with that being said, we really want to build that barn and build our living quarters inside there. And that will be technically our guest house until we're ready to build our real dream home, maybe several years down the line. And even if we don't get to that dream home goal, we're really excited to have that property. So we're going to make that very nice, make it livable for many, many years. And then if someday, through me getting promoted or Colin getting promoted, who knows what happens in our job lives, but hopefully someday it will support a master house being built on that property. And the plan would be that we get a shipping container, store all the larger stuff that we can in there, actually store everything that's here. We've been trying to downsize things that we don't have room for / don't need, and that'll be like extra beds and things like that. And maybe sell off a lot of the stuff we don't need and try to help us raise some more cash for, doing upgrades or, as much stuff as we can put forward as cash. We're going to try to buy a lot of stuff on Craigslist. And a lot of those people on Craigslist work really well with cash. Normally not a lot of financing options there. So we want to kind of pool as much cash as we can and protect that for these items that we need to buy on Craigslist. And that's going to be like the Bobcat, the solar, maybe water tanks, water pumps, electrical supplies. Really going to try to save as much money as we can by doing some of the things that way. And hopefully that works out. I'll be sharing all the numbers here so we can figure out if that was a smart thing to do or a dumb thing to do. Still really excited. We're trying to think of some great names for the farm. Want to do some goat milks, goat soaps, goat cheeses. We have a good name for all that. So hopefully by the time you guys see this, we'll have a name for the farm and be moving right along. So thanks. Okay, so I've got some exciting news. The first thing is that dog is barking down the hill, which is really annoying.